Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, guys, I'm a bit dubious about this article. I don't think there's any serendipity here. It's 23rd of September. It's about incoming asteroids, how they've got a asteroid detection warning system that tracks potentially hazardous asteroids, dangerous asteroids as they come into the atmosphere. Interesting about the timing. We've already speculated in the PDF science that we should expect, and we have this year. The records are there, and available for anyone who wants to check. That we've had record high asteroids enter our atmosphere. It's not been documented in modern documented history. The level of the frequency of asteroids that are hitting our atmosphere this year in 2016. Again, it's indicative of a binary star system that's basically dragging in asteroids and meteors from our hot cloud Kuiper belt and our asteroid belt, and then catapulting them back into the inner solar system, which is exactly where we are located. So we'll expect some to hit our direction, and I guess as this system goes out, there's a likelihood of us seeing a huge amount of asteroids entering our atmosphere. Anyway, with the recent speculation, we're expecting something like that to happen, maybe perhaps on Monday. At least that's what we heard on the grapevine. Let's just see. I mean, I'm expecting something to happen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. The occult references have been there, and they continue to be, which is a little disconcerting, but we'll just have to see. I mean, reading between the lines is never an easy thing. But I'm not reneging on that. I'm still expecting something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Let's just see how things unfold. Anyway, this is an interesting article. I'll leave a link to it. It's about a detection system. Again, like I said, there's no chance here. It's timely to say the least. Let's just watch this and see what this is about.
What exploded over Russia? Presented by Science at NASA. The sun rose over Russia's Ural Mountains on Friday, February 15th. Many residents of nearby Chelyabinsk already knew that a space rock was coming. Later that day, an asteroid named 2012 DA14 would pass by Earth only 17,200 miles above Indonesia. There was no danger of a collision, NASA assured the public.
Sorry, I was just trying
Maybe that's why, when the morning sky lit up with a second sun and a shockwave shattered windows in hundreds of buildings around Chelyabinsk, only a few people picking themselves off the ground figured it out right away. This was not a crashing plane or a rocket attack.
Now, what you find of interest, by the way, and I want you guys to basically look up that meteor as it entered Russia's atmosphere and then created this huge sonic boom, and that bang and the sound waves caused the windows to smash on buildings, and all sorts of damage occurred as a result. And I think there was quite a few fatalities as well. Is that someone else? And again, every time something like this occurs, you see these unidentified flying objects within proximity vicinity, and someone actually caught it and they froze the frames of that particular object. So look it up, research it yourself, and find it yourself rather than me just handing it over, because then I guess it always leaves that suggestion open that it could possibly be CGI. So I'd rather you basically found it and stumbled across it. But you'll find that there was an unidentified flying object around this particular meteor as it was coming into the atmosphere and seen in our horizon, and then it broke into bits. So again, there's no reason to suggest. I mean, what the speculation and the psyop it was used for is to basically again fuel the agenda for extraterrestrial beings looking out for the humanity's best interests at heart, and exploding and disintegrating this meteor before it basically landed just above our atmosphere and then breaking it into pieces. As far as I'm concerned, that's a ridiculous notion. It was their own technology. They were aware of it entering our atmosphere. They used their military tech, the technology we refer to in terms of UFOs, and then directed energy weapons, and they basically broke the meteor into fragments before it hit our atmosphere. And don't forget, it's not inconceivable, especially while they can basically do that to a missile that launches and flies at around about 1500 miles per hour. And whilst in flight, they can basically target the warhead at the top of that missile and explode it in thin air. So it's not too difficult to assume that they couldn't do that with meteorites as they were entering our atmosphere using the same sort of technology. Look that video up anyway, the a meteorite that fell into Russia's atmosphere, and you'll find that someone has done an excellent capture of it, slowing down each frame as you can see, and then you see this unidentified flying object flying very close to that meteorite that you just saw in this video, and then all of a sudden the meteor breaks into several fragments. I'm assuming that this was the military technology they used at that time.
It was a meteor strike, the most powerful since the Tunguska event of 1908, says Bill Cook of NASA's Meteoroid Environment Office. In a 1 in a million coincidence that still has NASA experts shaking their heads, a small asteroid completely unrelated to 2012 DA-14 struck Earth only hours before the publicized event. These are rare events, and it is incredible to see them happening on the same day, says Paul Chodas of NASA's Near-Earth Object Program at JPL. Researchers have since pieced together what happened. The most telling information came from a network of infrasound sensors operated by the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization. Their purpose is to monitor nuclear explosions. Infrasound is a type of very low-frequency sound wave that only elephants, homing pigeons, and a few other animals can hear. It turns out that meteors entering Earth's atmosphere cause ripples of infrasound to spread through the air of our planet. By analyzing infrasound records, it is possible to learn how long a meteor was in the air, which direction it traveled, and how much energy it unleashed. The Russian meteor's infrasound signal was detected by multiple stations, including one in Alaska more than 6,500 kilometers from Chelyabinsk. Western Ontario professor of physics Peter Brown analyzed the data. The asteroid was about 17 meters in diameter and weighed approximately 10,000 metric tons, he reports. It struck Earth's atmosphere at 40,000 miles per hour and broke apart about 12 to 15 miles above Earth's surface. The energy of the resulting explosion exceeded 470 kilotons of TNT. For comparison, the first atomic bombs produced only 15 to 20 kilotons. Based on the trajectory of the fireball, analysts have also plotted its orbit. It originally came from the asteroid belt, about 2.5 times farther from the Sun than Earth, says Cook.
Did you hear that? It came from the asteroid belt. So something had to have flung it into our inner solar system, otherwise it just continue in its orbit around that particular disk of the asteroid belt. But there must have been something that perturbed its orbit and catapulted it into our solar system, and again that lends to the whole hypothesis of this binary system as it's coming in.
Comparing the orbit of the Russian meteor to that of 2012 DA-14, NASA orbit analysts have shown that there is no connection between the two. These are independent objects, Cook says. The fact that they reached Earth on the same day, one just a little closer than the other, appears to be a complete coincidence. Infrasound records confirm that the meteor entered the atmosphere at a shallow angle.
I don't buy that. I really don't buy the coincidence theory. They both came in at the same time because something catapulted them, and they don't want us to look in that direction.
Of about 20 degrees and lasted more than 30 seconds before it exploded. The loud report, which was heard and felt for hundreds of miles, marked the beginning of a scientific scavenger hunt. Thousands of fragments of the meteor are now scattered across the Ural countryside, and a small fraction have already been found. Preliminary reports, mainly communicated through the media, suggest that the asteroid was made mostly of stone with a bit of iron. In other words, a typical asteroid from beyond the orbit of Mars, says Cook. There are millions more just like it. And that is something to think about as the cleanup in Chelyabinsk continues. For more news about things coming out of the blue, visit science.nasa.gov.
Right, guys, now whilst I've got your attention, I might as well just see if we can find something on the asteroids, the one that I just mentioned. Rather than you searching for it, we might as well do it together. Russian Okay. Russian asteroid UFO. Let's see if we can find something. Okay, this actually has had 1 million views as well, so we might as well watch this because it's had a lot of views. Okay, now do you see that? Something else that comes in through the fore goes literally through the meteorite. There you go, and it's going off in another direction, and you see those black spots as well coming in. Now that's the same footage slowed down. You literally see it go through, look. Right? And then the meteorite splits into fragments. So again, what we're hypothesizing, and you can tell from the pics, look at this. This isn't CGI. And this is the same footage that I just showed you from NASA's video, but slowed down. This is the sort of technology that's available to these guys, right? And they kind of disintegrated it just in midair as it was coming along. Question needs to be answered: is what was that? That literally it was almost intelligent, okay? Because I mean, if you think about it, and intelligently controlled, basically, that's what I mean. The trajectory of this meteorite, it was following its natural flight path, coming straight down. Whereas this thing had appeared and then gone all the way through from a different angle. So, I mean, it didn't come from the space into our atmosphere, just like this meteorite did. I mean, if you go back and we take a look at it, right, it's coming from almost a horizontal angle rather than vertically from space, right? And then it goes through it. So first of all, you need to question the angle it came in from, because if it was part of the meteorite, it would have come from the same kind of declination, the same angle, the same vantage point from where it had its trajectory from space. It didn't. It basically came on a very considerably different angle almost all the way through, and then it continues all the way through, and when it strikes it and goes through it, that's when the meteorite basically splits into different fragments. Conveniently. There you go. And remember, they said it was how many? 100 tons? So that's huge. That's a very big, that's a heavy asteroid, a very heavy one. 100 tons is huge, and if that had landed, it would have caused a damage untold. And they use the technology that's available to them. And this is what I mean, you know, that if the states have this technology and this asteroid, and if Russia basically fall into this whole like paradigm that they've set up where they're the enemy, then they would have allowed it to basically enter their atmosphere and cause the damage that it's going to cause in its wake. Because it doesn't fit into their narrative and the plan that they've got in mind for the Ummah, and at the top, at the very top, for them it's all one, and they want their plan to roll out just as they have intended. These things obviously would throw a spanner in the works for them. And this technology belongs to those elitists, the Satanists, the occultists who are allied with Shaitan Lanutullah at the top, right? And they're going to use it for what they need it for, and they will unfold this technology at the appropriate times in order to do that. But for the moment, behind the scenes, they use it for their ends and their purposes. So this whole false paradigm about Russia being on one side and then America and then all of those countries and regions that are allied with the States and all of those countries and regions that are allied with Russia, it's a false narrative. It's a structure created, a Hegelian dialectic for all of us. Otherwise, you wouldn't see this. I mean, there's many things you'd want to question. There's sort of like collaboration in space. then this whole motivation and initiative towards space programs, when you've got so many issues down here on the ground, as many things that we should, as just competent, intelligent human beings, question, and then see how there's almost in the shadows they seem to be basically coercing and collaborating, yet in the mainstream media and the official narrative, they're enemies and there's a division between them. It seems like a very, very false chess game, and we're basically being lulled into that whole kind of paradigm. And they're basically pushing it off as a genuine and a real one and an organic one when it's not. It's manufactured behind the scenes by these elitists. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Anyway, Jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jaza for your time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.